Welcome back to the Panel's Choice. Here we ask each panel member to pick a topic from this week that they feel is important to discuss. We'll start with Terry's pick. Schools have become a political battleground with kids going back this week. Masks, transgenderism, and critical race theory and more. But parents are fighting back against woke administrators.
We know that many school administrators and educators are doing their best to make schools safe and welcoming places for all students, including LGBTQI students. We appreciate the work they do. But we also know that that's not the reality for all transgender students, including perhaps some of you. In some places, people in positions of authority are putting up obstacles that would keep you from playing on the sports field, accessing the bathroom, and receiving the supportive and life-saving care you may need.
Terry, she sounds so nice.
She sounds so nice, Christina. Look, so across the country, it's back to school week for all of our kids, but for parents, it needs to be back to school boards week. We need to start taking back these school boards. That video from the Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, and the Department of Education is essentially a threat. It's a threat to parents, it's a threat to students who oppose this transgender lobby. It's not a back to school video, it is a transgender brown shirts recruitment video. They're encouraging kids to file reports against their teachers, against their fellow classmates. It's absolutely terrible.
And the video is a perfect example of why I think this topic is hard or confusing for some people and maybe even some parents, because it sounds really nice. You see what she says, and she says it with the soft piano music playing in the background, and you think, oh, of course, we want everybody to be included. Why is that not the case?
Because it's all lies, it's distortion, it's Orwellian. I mean, when she says that we want to keep transgender kids off of the sports field, we don't want to keep anyone off the sports field. We just want people playing according to their biological sex. So if you're a guy, you compete against guys, and if you're a girl, you compete against girls. They're trying to just twist this and make us out to be bad people, and they're tying into something that's very natural to Americans, which is our openness to being polite. We don't like being mean. We don't like excluding people, and that's what they're taking advantage of. But we can't let them use our politeness and our willingness to be nice and accepting to people to destroy our country and destroy our kids, and that's what they're doing.
Right. Well, thanks for the topic. Next, we've got Andrew's pick. On Tuesday this week, the United States Supreme Court denied the Biden administration's attempt to discard the Remain in Mexico program established by President Trump.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday denied President Joe Biden's attempt to block the Remain in Mexico policy set under his predecessor, Donald Trump. The immigration policy forces thousands of asylum seekers to stay in Mexico as they await U.S. hearings. The highest court rejected Biden's attempt to block a Texas federal court ruling requiring the government to revive Trump's policy, formerly known as the Migrant Protection Protocols program. All three liberal justices dissented, while the remaining 6 blocked Biden's bid, saying the White House appeared to act arbitrarily in rescinding the program.
Andrew, why does this ruling matter, and why now?
Well, this is a big deal. This is very important, and really it's about the long game. So Americans need to understand that we are experiencing unprecedented levels of illegal crossings right now, just over 200,000 last month alone. We don't have numbers for this month. They may be a bit down just because of the weather. But what this made it to the Supreme Court because Missouri and Texas sued, stating that they were experiencing harm on the basis of the Biden administration dissolving the Migrant Protection Program. Now, that program was one of the most coherent and impactful policies that were put in place during the last administration. President Trump's vision and his leadership stemmed the tide, brought some order to the border, and really disincentivized these illegal crossings. So what the Biden administration has done in removing that stopgap it's opened up the spigots again.
Yeah.
So this will force the Biden administration to either cause Mexico or encourage Mexico to participate with us, or they're going to have to build some new detention centers. Either way, there are no good options for them. But one thing I would leave you with, because Americans can walk and chew gum at the same time, despite what's going on in the rest of the world. What we need to understand is that this may be a win for the Biden administration because they know they are bleeding out at the border. So this this ruling will act as a mechanism to force them to follow federal law and do the right thing.
Right, it will absolutely force their hand. Thank you for the topic. Next, we've got Malik's pick. While Nancy Pelosi hosts her January 6th commission and innocent Americans are held as political prisoners in our nation's capital, they can't seem to find any evidence of the story they're telling Americans. Malik, tell us about your pick.
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record at this point because I've been on this show.
But I love this song. Sing it again, Malik.
I know it. You know, I've been on this show talking about it many times before because I'm one of those, you know, boring people who sit and watch hearings. And so the information that what I've continued to say is that we've gotten so much information from these actual congressional hearings. And it is intellectually dishonest and irresponsible for Pelosi Republicans and other Democrats to push this notion that somehow we needed a select committee to find out things. I've said on this show, there's so many things that we got from the hearing, from the initial request of unarmed troops by D.C. mayor to the day that Donald Trump actually approved the National Guard coming. There are a lot of things, there were a lot of failures, and there's been investigations. There have been Senate investigations on this. There have been IG investigations with recommendations on what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Right.
Notably, this story really wasn't out in the media. Even though it was last week, we really didn't hear a lot about it because, as I said, there was not going to be a lot of there. In this report, what it essentially says is that about 90 to 95% of the cases that they've actually have thus far, that there is no sort of evidence that they coordinated this, because the larger discussion is that people in Trump world connected to Trump were actually helping to coordinate this, and the FBI is saying, well, no, that's actually not the case.
Right. So we don't have evidence that there's a lot of coordination, but there seems to be circumstantial evidence that maybe others did coordinate it.
And we still don't have that information. There are a lot of things that we know. The first, that week of the initial select committee hearing, it was a very emotional, you know, a lot of emotional testimony. Of course, the visual of seeing officers there testifying, you know, that does, you know, tug at your heartstrings, but that actually wasn't evidence. They want to tie Donald Trump or anyone connected to him to this, and according to the FBI thus far, there is no connection.
Right. That's what Nancy Pelosi is trying to do, and that's what she's trying to do with this commission. It'll be interesting to see over the next months and probably years how it unfolds, because to your point, I'm not sure that this commission is going to come up with much connection to Donald Trump. What are the chances that we'll actually see a real investigation on this?
No, well, they're not. I refuse to believe that we're now into month 8. I refuse to believe that our FBI, our intelligence apparatus, does not have the means at this point to say, well, you know, there is something there. If it didn't happen in 8 months, it's not going to happen in a year.
That's a very fair point. Thank you very much. All right, lastly, we've got Robin's pick. The idea of mandatory masks is already a heated topic, but now the Biden administration is drawing children into the fray. Schools are segregating kids and forcing the vaccine issue on parents. Robin, tell us about your pick.
Well, I just believe that children are too precious and too vulnerable to be sacrificed on the hill of pseudoscience. And the recommendations that they're making they have nothing to do with science. It's social engineering. They're literally trying to segregate kids based on their status, the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. We all know that children are very susceptible to peer pressure, and they don't want to be ostracized. So I think that it's reprehensible that this is taking place in our country.
And do you think they're trying to use the kids against the parents? That's what I see when I see that, because kids, to your point, aren't going to want to be separated or segregated from their friends, and so they're going to want the vaccine, and maybe the parents who don't are going to be pressured by their own children.
I agree, exactly. And to your point, parents need to be involved in the school board. We need to fight back. This is social engineering, and I've never seen this level of governmental intervention in a medical procedure or a vaccine. what happened to our body is our choice.
Right.
Especially our children's bodies, our choice.
Right. And what is it specifically about masks? Because I think probably everyone on the panel and probably most of the viewers would say that they don't want to force their kids to wear masks if they don't want to. What is it about the action of forcing a child to wear a mask that could actually be detrimental?
Well, you don't see, it dehumanizes them, I believe. It dehumanizes me. When I'm in a store and I smile at someone, if I have a mask, they don't know it, you know.
Right.
And a lady and I were talking this weekend. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm smiling at you. Can you tell?"
Yeah.
She's like, "I can tell by your eyes."
Then you end up smiling bigger because you're like, no, really, I'm smiling.
Yes, exactly. So it dehumanizes you. It's Orwellian.
Yeah.
It's just a very sad state of affairs. It's a brave new world.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think there's probably a lot of people that feel that way. Thank you for the topic. Don't go anywhere. When we come back from the break, we've got Don't Be Fooled and my closing argument. We'll be right back.